Good morning, and it's such an honor to be able to speak again after speaking at the chamber here to each of you. I'd like you to just role play with me this morning a little. Pretend that you are a resident in Middleburg, Florida in 2017, around September. The newscasters have mentioned that it's going to be an active hurricane season. So you're prepared. Your house, your car, you've got your supplies, you've got your water. But things turn out a little differently to what you expected. So Hurricane Irma blows in, and the unexpected 32 feet of water come through Middleburg, and your home is kind of central in Middleburg, near the Black Creek. And so the 32 feet of water come and destroy your home and your car. And in the process of this unexpected disaster, you injure yourself and you land in hospital, and the medical bills pile up. The insurance companies start debating whether it was wind or water that really damaged your home, and so the insurance doesn't pay out much, actually. If you're insured for flood, it's about $32,000 that you get paid out if your home is destroyed by water. And so we found that a lot of people in Clay County lost their homes, lost their vehicles, lost their jobs, and were in a dire situation. And so we ask ourselves the question, in this type of a scenario, who's going to help? This is a picture of Pastor Russell Franklin's home, just off a Nightbox Road here. This is what happened in his neighborhood. He lost both his vehicles, and the water just came close to the house but didn't quite come into it. But these are unexpected things that happen, and we ask ourselves the question, when a person has a basket full of needs, and this is a term that Patrick Hale coined here in the social service sector, the people that were affected by Hurricane Irma developed very quickly a basket full of needs. And so your organization generally helps with one of those needs. And very often, people struggle to find help for the full basket of needs, as we find here with employment, transportation, housing, medical, and so forth. And so, which sector is going to be able to address the basket full of needs? Is it the nonprofit sector? Will the private sector be able to help, the business? Will it be the faith-based sector? Or will it be the private sector or the local government? So I'd like to share with you this today how these four sectors, when they work together, how the basket full of needs can be addressed in just an amazing way. So I'm going to look at the nonprofit sector first, and this is where I've been involved for about 10 years or more. The Clay Safety Net Alliance was founded in 2003. And I'm glad there's a lot of new people here, because this can give you context why it's so important to attend every meeting. And the Clay Safety Net came together in order to share services and resources so that all agencies in the county can know what's available and what's not available. And when you know what's not available, this can excite the agencies and the sectors in the county to found or initiate new services. And so this is our dream, is to have the ideal community where you have people in crisis that check into the social service system, where there's cross referrals back and forward, and the people can then check out as self-sufficient, where the basket full of needs is met. So collaboration within the nonprofit community and the faith-based community is very important in order for this ideal community to actually take place. So the question I ask you this morning is, even in the ideal community where people can check in, where they can be served by these agencies, and there can be cross-referral, there can be collaboration, there can be working together, what happens when there's a missing service? Pastor John, we don't have a transitional center in Clay County. And there's a lot of missing services in Clay County. And so in 2010, right after when the housing crisis kind of hit the market to where people were losing their homes and there was foreclosure that was rampant, what happens? What do we do? So a school social worker, and she's not with us this morning, a school social servicer called in to Clay Safety Net and asked if they could help with housing. There were no housing services in the county at the time. So what do you say? Yes or no? Well, we said yes. And so and this is the story that has been told in the Mercy circles and locally here amongst us so much about the grandmother with the 5 grandchildren who was living out of her car. And in the mornings before school, she'd pull up to the Chevron gas station, sneak behind the gas station, get the hose, and hose her kids down with a towel, dry them so that they'd be ready for school and they wouldn't look like they're homeless children. So we said yes. And we started calling around to the members of the Clay Safety Net Alliance and asking them if they would help sponsor 1 week in the hotel per month. And eventually, we raised enough money to keep 3 families in the hotels for 1 month. And we had a case manager, a volunteer case manager, that would help get them jobs and would help address those basket full of needs. But to sustain people in hotels is a very expensive thing. And that's where the collaboration starts bearing fruit. So it was on President's Day in 2010, I believe. I was praying at my kitchen table. I just said, we need help. We can't sustain this expensive accommodations anymore. And so my wife and I left and we went to Costco for our shopping trip, and my phone rang. And a gentleman on the other side of the line said, Pastor Andre, I see on Facebook, and my pastor's been telling me about this great need in Clay County. Would you be able to use a house in order to move your people there? And I said, yes, absolutely. This is an answer to my prayers. Thank you so much. I'd like Mike Serig to come up. He popped in this morning. Mike Serig and his wife Shelby were the first ones to provide housing here in Clay County for displaced families. Just come on, Mike. I want to introduce you to everyone. And it just shows you what can happen with collaboration. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Good to see you.
It's been a fantastic journey.
Yeah.
And thanks for being obedient to the Spirit of the Lord.
And just real quick on that, my wife and I prayed about our over and above offering for about 3 months that year. And then God spoke to both of our hearts really clearly what we were supposed to do. And so God's timing is always perfect, and He's always tugging on our hearts to do things. And we all in here, I'm sure, have an amazing heart to serve the kingdom and to help people. But yeah, the timing was perfect that day, and it was cool to see it happen. So
it was a miracle, an absolute miracle. Very exciting. And then Mike's pastor, Pastor Brad, got pretty involved with us. And so we started looking for homes, and it just so happened that he knew somebody that had a home for rent. And so we went to one of our partners, the Orange Park United Methodist Church, and we said, would you rent a home for us? And there we are in front of the second group home here in Clay County. So we had 2 homes because we had 4 families that we were dealing with at the time. And I just love this picture. I mean, it just shows the power of collaboration and what can happen when people are committed and that they have a higher level view of making a difference together. We found out that the CEO of City Rescue Mission had retired. And even though he wanted some time off and wanted to get away and just have a breather, we tracked him down. And we asked him, and he was there on that day when we moved across to the group homes. And so Patrick did an amazing thing. And I'd like him to come in and just be part of our recording today. Just come on up, Patrick. He volunteered. He was first the board chairman for us. And then he actually decided to volunteer as the CEO and spent, I think, over a year as a volunteer CEO. Thank you very much for doing that.
I'm glad I'm still married.
So it's just a beautiful story of what happens when we... Patrick's amazing what 10 years can do to us. And then... sorry about that. So then we were at Celebration Church doing an expo for Clay Safety Net Alliance, which was at that time, overseeing this fledgling organization. And a very distinguished gentleman came up to me and he said, aren't you those guys that are renting group homes for displaced families? We said, yes, sir. He said, why rent when you can buy? I said, well, sir, we don't have money. He said, come and do a proposal to the housing authority here in Clay County. We have money to do exactly what you're doing. So we went and we did a proposal, and we got $530,000 to buy 3 homes. Amazing. And there's our first resident advocate outside the home, Becky. And unfortunately, the neighbors heard about what we were doing. Not in my backyard, even though they were families. The HOA asked us to sell their house and get out. So we were absolutely crushed. We just couldn't believe that all these miracles took place only for us to have to get out of a neighborhood. But you know what? It was the greatest blessing, because we found out that with the same money, we could buy quadruplexes. So instead of having 3 homes, we eventually had 3 quadruplexes. And this is the grand opening of the first quadruplex there.
Ernie.
Isn't that exciting? I think Mark might be there.
Ernie's there.
Ernie? Yeah.
I wasn't though.
So we're starting to move into different sectors now, but I'm going to just stick to the nonprofit. And so in 2020, a donation was made to buy 5 acres with this building, 7,000 square foot administrative building for Mercy Support Services. And as you all know, Mercy Support Services is now one of the signature and foundation nonprofits in Clay County, because of you all collaborating together in order to make a difference. And the beautiful dream of having Mercy Village built right on that empty piece of land, because people in the Clay Safety Net Alliance started collaborating together. Isn't that a beautiful story? So let's look at the private sector. We asked the question, who's going to address the basket full of needs of our residents that fall into a crisis. Let's look at the private sector for just a minute. I was attending the Homeless Coalition in St. Johns County some time ago, and my GPS took me to Flagler Hospital. I thought to myself, why is it here? So I walked up the stairs, went into the room, and it was a room in one of the Flagler Hospital buildings. And we attended the coalition meeting there. And after the meeting, I went to the facilitator and I just said, how come you guys are meeting in Flagler Hospital's room here? We walked around and it was just plush offices. And she says, no, Flagler Hospital is actually the financial sponsor of Care Connect in St. Johns County. And that is a social service intake center and distribution of resources in St. Johns County. I said, what? That is phenomenal. So there's Flagler Health with Care Connect, and the hospital is this partner to help social services be coordinated throughout St. Johns County. I thought to myself, this is unbelievable. Wow. And I got one of the hospital representatives there, Andrea Crowder. Come up here for a second. It's just wonderful to see. She was willing to come down and witness the Care Connect connection down in St. John's, and we are happy that Care Connect is coming into Clay County as well.
Yes, we are.
So it's almost finalized. Thank you for being with us that day. We really appreciate it. And we have some great partners with us who represent prestigious hospitals in this area, and we are hoping that we could have a hospital that will just step into the center of social services and say, hey, we want to be involved with you. And then not too long after that, I went to my dentist, Doctors Lake Family Dental. I walked into the lobby, and here are United States Armed Forces badges and flags in the reception. Walked up to the reception, I says, what is this? She says, no, Doctors Lake Family Dental adopts a non-profit every quarter. And so this quarter is Veterans Services. And Doctors Lake Family Dental are going to support the Veteran Services here in Clay County. This is unbelievable. That a business would actually take an interest and adopt a non-profit once a quarter. I thought, wow, I'm excited about this. I want to stay a client of that dental office because they're not just focused on profit. The third business I want to share with you is Legacy in Action. I was introduced to them some time ago, and I went to visit their offices right here on College Drive. This is 10 a.m. in the morning, and they're outside having prayer. They've got the special time in their day where they have prayer. And Legacy in Action is a group of companies: Legacy Homes, Legacy Dock and Marine, Action Roofing, and Action Construction. And their mission is to make money to lift the community. So they want to hire staff of people that really need jobs. And they want to use their business in order to really have an impact in the county. So if you walk into their offices and you look at their mission statement, it's just absolutely incredible that they are willing to focus their whole business on helping us meet those basket full of needs. It's just great. Is there a representative from Legacy here today? No. Okay. So imagine what it would look like if we could partner with the Chamber of Commerce and have this sticker in the chambers colors on the glass window or the door of a business that would be a give back business making a difference. And we could have a whole group of businesses, hopefully all the businesses in Clay County, but ideally a group that are like Flagler Hospital, that are like Doctors Lake Family Dental, that are like Legacy in Action, and a few other key businesses who are willing to invest in our community. So let's look at the faith-based sector. So in 2017, Clay County, as you know, was impacted more than it's ever been impacted by a storm, Hurricane Irma. 32 feet of water that came through. My friends, our churches are such a huge resource. You've got buildings, you've got volunteers, you've got weekly presentations, weekly addresses, where you see people regularly, and you've got funding. So this was amazing. I had 16 pastors on my phone on speed dial, and we met there at High Point Christian Fellowship around the table to have discussions about how we can make a difference with this storm. So the faith-based community is just a powerful, powerful resource. And then we approached Christ's Church and asked them if they would be the volunteer reception center. The county wants us to always be able to screen volunteers and deploy volunteers with purpose, and not just send volunteers out haphazardly into the community, right? So it's important to have a volunteer reception center where volunteers can register and they can pick up tasks that are very specific. And so we did that in the Christ Church lobby back in Hurricane Irma in 2017. And so churches were able to host and accommodate out-of-state volunteer groups in their fellowship halls and in their Sunday school rooms. Here's one particular one. And churches were also able to host the AmeriCorps volunteers that came into town. And they could deploy there because very often churches have showers and they've got restrooms, they've got kitchens. It's just a phenomenal resource. So the faith-based community really did an amazing job of deploying their volunteers out into the community. And here I am with a group from my church out in Middleburg, that very area that had such an amazing and a devastating impact. Finally, but definitely not least, is the public sector, the local government. So my friends, in Clay County, we have a phenomenal local government. I've been in and visited other counties, but I've got to tell you, Clay County is amazingly integrated with our social services. And so our emergency services director, John Ward, does an amazing job to pre-storm, during the storm, and right post-storm to rally together stakeholders in Clay County in the Emergency Operations Center. You have to be there in order to experience it. It's absolutely amazing. But as many of you know, local government can do pre-storm planning. They can be active during the storm and right after the storm to clean up the roads, to make sure that there's no hazards for the citizens, but they're not allowed to go on private property. They can only work through local community groups in order to do the disaster cleanup. The schools become shelters during the storm. The health department does special needs shelters. So the local government is just phenomenal. There's a call center that opens at the EOC, taking calls from residents. First responders going out where they can in order to rescue residents or keep them safe. Mike Seller, one of our county commissioners, sorry Stephanie, is just a phenomenal community person. He's just everywhere, mixing and listening and very proactive. So we have a great local county government. And we're so excited that Clay County has opened a community service department. And we're very excited that the former director of Impact Clay is now the deputy director at the local government. So, you know, the bridges are so incredible that have been built between all these different sectors. Gabby, I don't know if you want to come up.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, Gabby's been working for about 2 years now with Impact Clay. So she has just got great experience on how to collaborate between the different agencies, and now she's in the Clay County government. So we are so excited. Here is Pastor Todd Bussey and myself in the EOC during Hurricane Irma. Now I'm going to start talking about how these sectors collaborate together. So Melissa Whittaker was a social worker in the Clay County schools, which is local government, right? She called the Clay Safety Net Alliance, which is the non-profit. The faith-based groups, Mike Serig, Pastor Pearl Bowles from the Orange Park United Methodist Church were the first ones to put the group homes in place for displaced families. And then business rounded it off by making a $1.2 million donation to buy this land. So, legacy in action. Here they are. Rob and Laurie Gunn, Ken and Joel Marquis, and there's Mike Serig, the board chairman at the time, and Patrick Hale, the CEO of Mercy Support Services, to buy this piece of land. So from a phone call from a government agency to hotels, to rented group homes, to purchased homes, and now the dream here in Clay County to have Mercy Village. That is the epitome of collaboration between the four sectors. And so when I look at these two pictures side by side, guys, I mean, wow. This is, if you had to go through there, you'd see all four sectors represented in both of these pictures, because they saw a need and they stepped up to a need. Everybody has a heart of compassion. It doesn't matter what sector you're in, you can make a difference. When I attended the Reinhold Awards breakfast the first time, I was so inspired to see those four sectors represented in that breakfast and what they have done and the awards that were given to nonprofits that I hadn't even heard about. And every time you go to an awards breakfast, you're going to hear this story of a man who was walking down the street and he came to a construction site. And he came to the first guy there and he said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "No, I'm laying brick." Amy Parker, how does the rest of it go? He came to the next person and he said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "No, I'm mixing mortar." And he came to the third person and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm building a cathedral." Even though he was doing just a menial little task, you know, he might have been sweeping the side or doing any menial task. But he didn't see that menial task as the end all of what he was doing. He saw the cathedral. And so I'd like to invite each one of you to see the cathedral of Clay County. You might be in children's services. You might be in veteran services. You might be in the medical field. But build the cathedral. Invite people to participate. Invite sectors to communicate. Invite workers to go the extra mile, to connect with other agencies. And let us get to the place where we can collaborate in the county across all 4 sectors. Invite business people. So there are so many potential projects here in Clay County. The housing was just one. We need to improve transportation. We need childcare for low middle income families that don't qualify for Episcopal Children's Services. There's a gap there. Medical health awareness, juvenile delinquency. I mean, there's a lot. The transitional center right here. If we can collaborate around the transitional center like we did around housing, imagine the impact. And so for 2 years, Gabriel Gunn has been pioneering the way with an agency called Impact Clay, where the goal of Impact Clay is to bring all those 4 sectors together around potential projects, around missing services, and to get their buy-in, to get their support, to get them to leverage their agency or their organization towards the common goal of birthing a project or initiating a project. And so Impact, we have an organization called Impact Clay, and I'd like the new CEO of the new executive director to come up, Connie Thomas. Who's going to continue the work that Gabriel Gunn started. It happens in 3 sectors. The Clay Safety Net is where we percolate a lot of the projects. Then they take it to what they call the Project Advisory Council, where they look at the project. Is it a viable project? Is it something we really need? And then they take it to the Executive Roundtable, which is more the elected leadership of the county. And so the goal is to get all these 4 sectors engaged with one another around these crucial projects. So if you have a pending project or you've got something that you're struggling with to get going, this is the lady that you see.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give her a hand. So guys, it's really exciting. So the question I'm going to ask you again, which sector is responsible to meet those basket full of needs? Oh! And I'd like to invite each of you not just to be laying brick or to be mixing mortar in your sector, but I'd like you to be an advocate. I'd like you to be talking about give back businesses. I'd like you to be challenging. If you find a person from a hospital, say, hey, who can I speak to get the hospital to be more involved in the social services? If you speak to a big non-profit or any sector that you meet in the circles that you move in, that you can be an ambassador for collaboration between all 4 sectors. What do you say? Great. We appreciate it.